Welcome to the Chime webinar series, Business Generation, not Lead Generation. Super stoked. We get a lot of people in the room right now, so let's let some of these people get in here and then we'll get going. Super excited to have you. Welcome. We've got some incredible guests that I'll introduce here momentarily. If you guys go into the chat feature right now, you're going to see a couple of links for our guests. We'll be giving those out again later. But I do want you to have the opportunity to check them out because this is going to be magic and I'm super stoked about it. We will have a Q&A at the end of this session. So make sure that you save your questions for then and we'll get to it so that we sing as well as we can sing. Oh, Cypress, Texas, welcome. I see an aloha. I was born in Waipahu, so I'll give you a little shaka right there. You can dig it. Are they auto muted? I'm not sure. Houston, hey brah. Very nice. I love it. Looking good here. Illinois, my family's from Mundelein. I'm just going to know everybody. I know Raymond is Mr. Chicago. There you go. Perfect. Tampa, the champion city. You guys are always winning everything.
There we go. I'm right there.
Oh, look at that. Florida and Illinois and Hawaii. We got this all set. We're good. Paradise Valley. Well, Chime is based in Phoenix. So hello, neighbor. PNW, my favorite place. We love our Canadian friends. Awesome. Maybe about one more minute here and then we can start making some introductions. Calgary, home of the Flames and the best poutine I ever had. Yeah, we got Catherine Mann in the chat, so you guys need anything. Boo, go Leafs. Oh, okay. Well, little hockey fight here already, guys. What is it? I went to a fight and I saw a hockey game break out. Is that what they say? And Catherine flexing her muscles there. I love it. I love it. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. I'm super happy to have my guests here today. And again, we're talking about business generation and lead generation and what that means. But first off, let me make an introduction to my panelists here. Super stoked to have them. The first person is an amazing leader in the industry. His name is Raymond Sjolseth, and he's got a lot of really cool things going on. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, Raymond.
Hey guys, thanks for coming today. My name's Ray. I've been in and out of real estate for 30 years, primarily as an investor, recently on the front end with my wife, running a team here in Chicago. And I have a podcast. I've written a book, got 2 more books coming out this year, and I'm just grateful to be here, part of this Chime community. Love you. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. And next, equally as awesome, Mr. Austin St. Jean. Tell us a little about yourself, Austin. You're on this call with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Austin St. Jean. I'm one of the co-founders of Dippity Marketing. We are a marketing agency that has a specialization in real estate. We have been partners of Chime now for going on, I believe, 2 years. So very, very excited to be here and just contribute to the Chime community and see if we can dive deep here on some lead generation and business generation. So very excited to be here. Thank you, Gary.
I love it, man. Let's get to the first question because you just nailed the topic again, which is business generation. First off, how did you get into real estate marketing? Like what's your background? What do you know about it, and what value are you bringing to the table here?
Yeah. So I actually got into the industry, I believe in 2016. I actually did not come in as an agent. I came in as a marketer, working for a real estate company, real estate technology company. And, eventually kind of was being mentored and passionate, just absolutely tons of passion in that company. So I ended up leaving there and actually came back home to Lakeland, Florida, and started a small business agency with a couple partners. We started Dippity, and we were really working with different small businesses in the area. We weren't even working in real estate. So then eventually we ended up breaking back into the industry, and then COVID occurred. So a lot of our small business clients ended up taking a huge hit, while weirdly, the real estate industry started booming, right? So, we kind of narrowed in our focus on real estate, still work with some small businesses that come in, but we have absolutely specialized into real estate to 90% of our book at this point. So that's kind of just what's kept us chugging along. And I think the reason we stay in the industry is just everybody's kind of like a micro business within themselves. And there's just so many amazing perspectives of, sales and marketing ideas, operational ideas, that every single time I talk to an agent, I feel like I learned something new that you can add to the utility belt. So I think that's what ultimately keeps me passionate every day to stay in the industry. So that's kind of my way of getting started, but I'm super excited to hear Ray's.
Right on. So you're in there every day trying to figure out this whole lead gen business closing. Yeah, exactly. Raymond, talk to me, like real estate. How did you get into that world?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very blue collar house. Grandfather owned a painting company and hardwood floor company. My grandfather on my dad's side was an architect and a general contractor. So I was always in and around buildings. But at 19, I bought my first foreclosure. It was a condo in Thousand Oaks, California for 60 grand. The HOA was in a lawsuit with the builder because the porches and stairs were falling down off the units. And I put 10 grand into it. I lived there for 5 years, sold it for 300 grand, bought 2 more houses. And 30 years later, like I'm still in and out of it. Like I love it. I'm obsessed.
That's fantastic. And I know you have a booming podcast with a lot of loyal listeners. You get a lot of value from that. Let's go to the first question. So Raymond, take this one for me, if you would. What has changed in regard to lead generation over, say, the last year or two, or even more recently? And what do you see happening in the next 5 years that we need to be aware of?
Well, I think that there's been a shift through our digital age, right? So our shift used to be, if you think about the 1950s, 60s, it was heavy on door knocking, heavy on cold calling, right? Heavy on selling Kirby vacuums, Cutco knives, whatever, where it was more of a forced sale, forced transaction. Whereas the world we live in today, marketing makes sales easier, right? So we're all out there building brands, building a name, building a following, showing up, trying to be seen, trying to get found. And it used to be sales heavy with very little marketing. Now it's marketing heavy and the transaction happens faster. It's a longer cycle, but once somebody decides, they decide faster that they're going to work with you. It's no longer forced. It's more of a decision from the consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
That's one of the big differentiators over the last 10 years specifically.
Is that what you see in your day-to-day there, Austin?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think what's kind of cool to piggyback off of Ray is that it used to be a sales first and then marketing was below, and it's now marketing first. But I think what's happening is sales is now going below and to the wayside, and people are maybe obsessing over the marketing side of things more than the remembering to put in the old school sales things as well. I mean, you have to put those things in to make a lead generation or marketing campaign successful. So that's kind of what I am noticing as well, is that marketing is coming first, but we're forgetting about the foundational sales processes along the way that make your marketing successful.
Why do you think there isn't more priority put on that? Why do you think it's being put secondarily?
Part of me believes there's some false marketing campaigns that go around that are out there on digital platforms, on YouTube and everything like that, that make it feel somewhat like a get rich quick sometimes when it comes to lead generation. And, you've probably seen a few videos pop up that's like, do you want to live like me on an island and work 3 hours a week? And it's,
wait, that was you?
No, I wish it was
yes.
I wish it was me.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I paid $1,000 for the course. Nothing happened. No. So it's just, it makes it interesting to me that what goes into this process is a lot more than just generating the lead. There's things to be done when the lead is generated. And I think that the way that the marketing is set up from the people helping and providing solutions are creating false expectations and false hopes of what occurs when you do marketing campaigns.
Yeah. That's awesome. I get a lot of clients who talk about like they're having a problem with lead generation, but in fact, they oftentimes are getting a lot of leads, but they consider them garbage. Now, the question is, are they garbage because they were unqualified or uninterested, or are they garbage because somebody else got to them and did the hard work to turn those people into customers? Raymond, what do you think the biggest challenge is in converting these leads that they're getting?
Everybody's thinking
or not
short
getting.
term.
I'm sorry?
I think, you know, to go back to what you just said, Gary, like leads are subjective, right? There's good leads and there's bad leads. That's true. But bad leads can often turn into good leads if they're nurtured long enough. It just depends where that person's at in their sales cycle, right? And most people are unaware of that because most real estate agents, blanket statement, not trying to offend anybody, get into the industry. They want to make a lot of money, think transactions are going to happen fast, and they usually don't, right? Like real estate is a long game. So in my opinion, and the way that I teach to run a business is think in 10 years, not 10 minutes, not 10 days, not 10 weeks, not 10 months, 10 years. And if you start making decisions from the place of, hey, what's this going to look like in 10 years? You're able to actually slow time down and build the systems that'll consistently build you a pipeline, but it's going to take time, right? Like it's time in the market, not timing the market. Like that's the great thing about real estate.
Right. I love that. And Austin, you can probably chime in here. You like Chime? Anyway, you could probably chime in here. What are the effective ways of that reach out that Raymond was saying is so important that people maybe aren't doing?
Yeah,
What
I
are the
think,
methods?
well,
Yeah.
some of the things that we carry a belief in at Dippity is having a multi-channel advertising strategy. So there are so many ways to market your company. I mean, a text message is content, an email is content, you know, door knocking is content when you go and you deliver it, right? So but what we believe in is multi-channel. It's not one thing that is gonna set it over the edge. It's taking your advertising budget and your marketing budget and doing exactly what you would do if you were investing in stock portfolio or real estate portfolio, and it's diversifying it. And so what I believe in from a digital standpoint from multi-channel is having things set up like Google PPC. You're going to want to have Google search ads running. So that way you can invest in people's thoughts as they're looking for homes for sale or looking for a need to sell their home or looking for something that shows some sort of intent. But you don't want to stop there because people may click your ad, see your landing page, see your registration page and dip out, right? You might get 100 clicks, 10 come through. And so you got 10 leads off of it that go into your CRM to be followed up with if you have the right followed up processes in place. But then the other 90, did you just waste the ad spend or what happens here? And so that's where you can set up different campaigns on another channel like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, multiple channels where you can now remarket these people. So I like Google being the brain to drive traffic of intentional searches, but I also like Facebook and Instagram and social media platforms from a remarketing standpoint to build trust and consideration to bring people back. So it's a way you can nurture the leads along the way. That would be kind of my take on a quick take on some of the different ways that you could do, marketing and a strategy that may help work over time in the long game, just as Ray was talking.
Yeah. Pivoting on that, what are the challenges for the person that realizes? I think we all realize that we need to do this, right? Maybe we don't know all the different avenues that we could invest in to make this thing the best, but we don't all do it, right? So once you do it, what are those challenges that they're going to face? Like, what are you hearing from your clients? And I'll start with you, Austin, being client facing there. Like, what are you hearing? Like, even if you have that in place.
Oh, Gary, we lost you for a second.
Sorry about that. It's not always going to be perfect. So what are some challenges that people are facing right now, even if they are doing the multi-channel marketing?
Yeah, I think it then goes into the follow-up process. So you're going to want to have something on the back end to make sure that you're staying top of mind with these leads, and also have a process to do outbound phone calls to try to get conversations, because ultimately that's what you're in the business for. When you're doing a lead generation campaign, is your goal is to get appointments. You want to get belly to belly, so that way you can have a conversation and learn what's going on, what needs do these buyers or sellers have, so that way you can then take that relationship and nurture it and serve them, and so that way you can then turn it into a closing. But it doesn't happen overnight. So I think a lot of times what happens is when people generate leads, they end up falling short on remaining accountable for the follow-up process that comes into play. It seems super easy when you invest into a lead generation campaign and the lead hits your system and you tell yourself you're going to follow up, but most of the time that accountability ends up falling short. And so that's where you're going to want to use different things within your CRM, whether they're smart plans or the AI, to be able to help assist you along the way when it comes to doing some of the tasks that happen in follow-up. A lot of times people will set up a smart plan. This is a pain point, and they use it as a complete crutch, where they then don't do outbound calls, and they're basically waiting on the smart plan to stir up a conversation or stir up an engagement, when you still need to be doing outbound phone calls as well. So I think that's the biggest struggle that ends up happening when it comes to lead generation, is having the expectation that if you're going to invest in this, it is not a set it and forget it on both sides, not from the marketing side and not from the sales side. You can have things that help assist you and make it more efficient for you, but you still have to do the work. You still have to make the calls to try to get these people to convert.
Right. You got to get dirty. You got to do a little elbow grease, right? And speaking of elbow grease, Raymond, you've built yourself up from, that one little property to just crushing it. Like, what are your thoughts on the challenges that they're facing, and, what they need to do to help overcome those?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. Number two, a lot of that misinformation leads to distractions and lack of focus. Right. So one of the things that I teach is, let's pick 3 lead gen strategies that work for you, that work for your personality type. Right? If you don't want a cold call, don't cold call, because you're not going to show up and do the work. You're going to procrastinate or just never do it at all. Right. Same with door knocking. But if you like social media and you're okay going live, and you don't mind jumping in Facebook groups and stirring up conversations and trying to get people to raise their hands, then maybe that's your sweet spot. So let's pick 2 short-term strategies and 1 long-term strategy to focus on, and then go and do that work, knowing it's going to take a month, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever it is. And Austin's dead on. Like, it's never set it and forget it, right? As the market shifts, you have to adjust your strategies. There's lots of tactics, but the strategies is how you get to the end game. And that's what's able to be evergreen in the market to build the business that you want.
Yeah. So what are some changes that people can make? I mean, they find out what they like. I mean, I think that a lot of times they're going to go out there and they're going to take your advice and they're going to try something. How do you know when that doesn't work? You know what I mean? Like, how much time do you give that? I know that's something I hear from a lot of people. They're all like, I won't know. How do I know when I'm doing well, when I'm, all of a sudden crushing it, or, little drops in the bucket? Like,
yeah, I think you have to measure the results, but it's not always going to be a home run, right? It's going to be base hits. And I didn't like that answer when I realized that, right? Like, I want a home run. I don't want base hits. I don't want to, oh, well, I got a rental. Oh, well, I got a first-time home buyer, but it's going to take 12 months because this person needs to get their credit up. We need to get some more money in the bank. We need to get a car paid off, whatever, right? Like, and I think that becomes the challenge, where a lot of people get frustrated or give up or walk away, because it is work, right? Like, we're not just going to make phone calls and get 100 sellers that'll be like, oh my God, you're the bomb realtor, right? Let's go. It doesn't work like that. It takes work. So, but you got to measure. You have to be able to measure what you're doing, right? So are you showing up to lead gen for an hour a day? Right? And if you talk to 10 people, were you able to book 1 meeting? If the answer is yes, then you can add 1 person to your database. Then you'll have a meeting to attend, right? Then maybe from that meeting, you go to a new coffee shop, you can make a piece of content. Like, that's what I call the success cycle. If you can do that 1,000 times, you'll build an amazing business. But you have to put in the work to do that, right?
You need to be measured to improve, right? Austin, anything else on that part there?
Yeah,
As far as,
absolutely. I mean, I think ultimately you're wanting to figure out how everything's going that you're working on. It is measurement. The beautiful thing is that you do have a CRM that you can measure with, right? You know, when you have Chime, you can do so many things in there to measure your results of multiple campaigns. You could generate a lead source. Let's just say it's Google. The lead comes in the system. You can get them tagged based off of the city that the person's inquiring in. So you can have a little bit of an indication there. Then you can start using the dialer call through there so you can see how many times you've called each person through the CRM. Now, over time, as you make dials and dials and dials, you're going to need to make, you know, a few thousand dials and then in your CRM to build up that data. But now you can start reviewing that data to see what really works. You know, you could see, all right, I've made 4,000 dials over the year and I was able to set 100 appointments, and those 100 appointments turned into 6 deals. Well, now you can break that down of the number of dials that you've made and divide it by the number of conversations you had, the number of appointments that it set, the number of deals that it did, how much commission did it bring. And you can divide the number of dials by that, and you can see how much money you're making every time you pick up the phone, whether they're telling you, leave me alone, they don't answer, you left a voicemail. I like viewing that metric when it comes to doing lead generation and seeing what happens when you make these outbound calls. That keeps you motivated. I mean, let's say that you're doing that, you might be able to make $100 a dial, $20 a dial every single time you pick up the phone. If you end up measuring it over the long term, seeing that you made 4,000 dials, but you made X in commission. I mean, I don't know many places that you could do just picking up your phone like this, making $20 every single time. Right. But people don't measure it that way. They want to see the home run, just as Ray said, versus understanding that doing this is a single every single time. And you're making money, you just don't know it because it's not instant gratification.
Right. And, you know, to your point, like, and to Ray's point, making calls can be extremely effective, but a lot of people hate making those calls. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot more palatable when you have success, and you're more apt to pick up that phone if you got results from the phone call that you made right before that. So there's a lot of different ways to tackle that. Finding the ones that you like to do are the obvious ones, and then measuring them and seeing if they're effective, but also having the tenacity and the wherewithal to, you know, dig into where it hurts, you know, to where maybe you don't feel as comfortable. What are your thoughts on that, Ray? I mean, for somebody who says, I'm just completely opposed to that, I mean, is it, well, then stick with what you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like some of it just depends on how much growth you're willing to tackle and how you feel about that, right? Like, are you willing to invest in yourself and get out of your comfort zone? Right. I have a client that I coach that I've been coaching for 2 years. She was literally, poor thing, scared of her own shadow, right? Would never cold call or door knock. Now she's door knocking, but it took somebody going with her, helping get her warmed up, making her feel safe and comfortable. And now she door knocks her neighborhood every week, 2 days a week, spends a couple hours just banging on doors, right? Asking questions, dropping off a flyer packet, a market update, whatever. So it can be done, but how bad do you want it?
Right.
Have you made a decision to be a real estate agent? Like, that's a question that I ask all the time.
I mean, just becoming a real estate agent, I think, is going on the other side of comfortable, which leads to success. I mean, kudos to everybody on this call. This is not for the faint of heart. And you guys, the fact that you're here today on a weekday afternoon listening to these amazing people really shows that you're willing to make an investment. That right there is step number one. So that's incredible. Hey, big question that everybody is thinking here. Ray, we'll start with you here. What effect has rising interest rates and limited inventory had on the conversion of the leads that are coming in? What have you seen or heard in regards to that?
You know, it's funny. I have my notes over here, and I wrote that conversion is a people problem. It's not an interest rate or an inventory problem. Is there an inventory problem? Yes. Some places more than others, right? Are interest rates going up and down? Yes. But ultimately, when you look at the data and you look at what a house is being sold for with a higher interest rate today versus what a house is being sold for with a lower interest rate a year ago, you're maybe $50 off in the payment. Like, it's not a deal breaker by any means, in my opinion. Inventory, yeah, that goes back to being patient. That also goes back to, are you willing to work and hustle for your clients and do outreach? Are you willing to do things other agents aren't willing to do? Are you willing to collaborate with other agents? Are you willing to call other agencies, stop by brokerages, say, hey, I have a client looking for ABC. Do you guys have anything? Are you willing to door knock neighborhoods and say, hey, I have a client who wants to live here. You guys want to move, right? Like, there's a lot of different things that can be done. It requires a decision, it requires work, and it requires time. So if you're willing to do those types of things, absolutely, there's always an option, right? There's only not an option when you give up or you choose not to pursue it.
Exactly. Let me take this actually to your wheelhouse, Austin. What have you seen in regards to effective changes in marketing because of the fluctuating interest rates and limited inventory? Like, what are you having to say different, or what road are you having to walk down that you may not have had to in the past? Like, talk to me about that. What are people seeing, and how are they overcoming those obstacles?
Yeah. I mean, so you got to think when it comes to our sandbox, right? Let's just use Google search as a great example here. If you go on Google Trends right now, you can actually see the wave of homes for sale is declining because not as many people are searching it as before. Not to say that they're not, trust me, there's still people searching it by the boatloads, but it's not like it was when interest rates were, in the 3%. But you got to think about what's happened over that time period. Equity in people that have homes has exploded. I mean, I did a little research this morning from CoreLogic. They said the average homeowner has $300,000 in equity in their house, which is, to me, just bananas. Like that's insane that's that much money. I thought I was expecting to see like 150. I did not expect to see 300. And then it got me thinking, like, all right, well, even though search volume's down and people are still searching, you have to ask yourself, who is searching? These are either people who have a home because they're going to more than likely sell it to use that money to be able to get their next home. First-time home buyers might be, hurting a little bit here because of the home prices with the interest rates. And the only other bucket are people in distressed situations. So you're still getting in front of people at the right time, even though the search volume is low, and there's still a market out there. There's always a market out there. So you just have to make sure you're putting in the effort and work behind it and having the right expectation and mindset of what's going on here. Did the lead cost potentially go up due to lack of search volume? It's kind of like a supply and demand, curve there, but you're still getting in front of people who now might have massive equity in their homes. And more than likely, once you have a conversation with them, are going to want to sell that home. So you're getting a double dip on the deal. Right. So that's kind of what I've seen from it. Conversion rates, I haven't been able to pinpoint that they've gone down, but search volume has.
Okay. I don't want to give away your secret sauce because this is your bread and butter here. But do you have any nuggets of wisdom, eye-catching ideas that are working right now that might be rather unique, that compels people to fill out that form or ask for information?
So it really just depends on the campaign you're doing, because we have, worked with 200 plus clients and done many custom campaigns. Obviously, the big thing that's going to get you the best results is selling the product itself. That's going to stir up the most conversations. You can absolutely go on social media and, take on that and start doing an entire video content strategy or entire social media strategy. But that is definitely a long-term game. You're going to need to build an audience over time. So secret sauce, no. I mean, it's doing the dirty work. Honestly, yeah, it really is. There is no magical thing that I have found by any means that, otherwise I wouldn't be in my shed right now. It's
your magic shed. I love it.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. Ray, I know this is kind of a broad question, but are there any interesting trends for 2023 in the real estate world that maybe you can throw at our guest here?
Yeah, I think there's two things, but two different sides of the fence, if you would. One is personal branding. I think personal branding is really starting to grow and people are starting to take it seriously to actually build themselves up as a brand. You know, if you're a solo real estate agent, you're a one-person business, but you're a startup founder, you're an entrepreneur, right? And you need to go out and market yourself. Like that is your job as a salesperson, is to market yourself so you can drive sales. On the flip side, I think the opportunity to work with a lot of first-time homebuyers and even new investors, that opportunity is huge.
Not a lot of people chasing after that,
No,
but still a lot out there.
You know, it's interesting, right? Because in real estate, there's typically a lag, right? Like depending upon where you are, but there's often a lag. And for where we are right now and all the changes the world has gone through in the last 3 years, the opportunity and support for somebody to buy a home for the first time, with all the rebates, with the incentives, all those things that are out there, and or the education available for somebody to buy a home as an investment, even with a no document loan as an example, that's all real. And that's a real opportunity. Now, yes, inventory shortage is also a real thing, and that presents a challenge, but we just have to be more creative, right? Like we have to ask different questions. We have to look at different areas, maybe go after different property types than we would normally do, but there's still opportunity out there. And I think those couple of things are big.
Yeah, that is huge. You know, I talk to a lot of realtors every single week. And one of the things that I hear often is, great, I have this system that will automate my emails. I have this system that will allow me to create all these social media posts with the click of a button, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And I think in just 1 minute, you encapsulated what could be a video, what could be a social post, what could be a series of 5 to 7 emails and a smart plan. Austin, this is your world. Talk to me about content, and where do we get the information that Ray was just talking about, and how do we get that out there? What are the channels, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's beautiful what you can do when you just come up with one idea and how much you can squeeze out of that one idea. Yeah, I mean, so when it comes up to that one idea, I think the biggest lowest hanging fruit is like frequently asked questions and educational pieces, but try to take that question and then localize it even further for your local market. So, you know, whether it be, you know, like 10 home staging tips, you know, to sell your home. Let's just fire away at that one, right? 10 reasons you should stage your home before selling. Just pulled that one out of thin air, right? Try to figure out ways that you could localize that even further into your market. And then you can make a blog post out of that. You can make a YouTube video out of that. You could then take that YouTube video and take splices and make Instagram reels and TikToks out of that. You could send that and implement it in a smart campaign. There's a smart plan campaign for nurturing your database. You know, almost like a newsletter. You could have like one piece of content go out once a month and set up a long-term drip campaign to nurture the leads you're generating online or nurture other existing lead sources you already have. So, I mean, really, it's just trying to come up with that one idea and then figuring out how you can squeeze the lemon out of that and get as much out of that one idea as possible. So really, ultimately, you need to come up with 4 ideas a month and do once a week. You know, one blog a week with it, one YouTube video, take that video, make splices. Now you got content you can post all week on social. So if you could come up with one idea a week, you can do a lot of damage when it comes to content marketing.
Hey, you may have already mentioned it. You've had some great points, but do you see any interesting trends, maybe things that people could be doing that they don't do as much of and you're surprised? Anything out there new on the horizon?
My biggest thing that I'm obsessed with right now is ChatGPT. It's a topic that I feel like everybody's talking about. I mean, you can do a lot with it. I would definitely encourage people to open it up and play with it. And I think that's the biggest talked about trend right now in marketing. And honestly, it can be used in many use cases outside of marketing as well. So I would say that that's my biggest trend I'm seeing that I have a fascination with.
Yeah, I actually am obsessed with it right now. So that's
Gary,
awesome.
can I jump into that too?
Please, Ray. Yeah, please.
So in our business, I have 2 email buckets. I have a nurture bucket that is evergreen for all incoming leads, buyers, sellers, investors, whatever, right? Then I have a broadcast bucket. So the broadcast bucket is, hey, here's a new listing. Hey, just closed. Hey, check out this event. Oh, look, a new restaurant opened. But the nurture bucket, like my goal is to build 4, 5, 6, 7 years out for delivery with these emails, but it's completely evergreen. So I'm talking about who are the famous actresses in and out of Chicago? Where are the famous movies that were filmed here? You know, the World Trade Fair was held on museum campus. Now there's 6 museums there. Here's the history on that. Stuff that is all community driven, right? So what I tell people to do is go subscribe to 5, 6, 7 community newsletters, Chamber of Commerce, local business, villages, whatever. See who has some of the best content that you actually like, repurpose it for yourself, but then also look at the historic buildings, look at the history, and then leverage ChatGPT, like Austin said, and go and create these emails for yourself for these nurture sequences. Because guys, nobody cares about a market update. Like, can literally Google it or go to Zillow or realtor.com or any of these other websites for all that basic information, or they're getting it through direct mail campaigns from other real estate agents, maybe even you or me in the neighborhood. But people don't care about that. Like, even for me, I throw that crap right away. I don't want it. But if somebody sends me an email that's interesting relative to my community, like where we live used to be a naval base. I think that's super interesting, right? Like, is my house built on an airstrip, right? Like, thinking outside the box and then leveraging the technology like Austin was talking about, that is the future of building these relationships, leveraging a platform like Chime, right? And being able to automate and talk to people and stay top of mind through email, through text, through personal notes, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. You know,
There's so much opportunity.
The next question I was going to ask you, I feel like may have just been answered, but I want to ask both of you. If a family member or a best friend came to you and they were in real estate and they said, what's the one thing that I've got to do right now to make a difference? What would you say, Ray? Let's start with you. Is there anything that sticks out?
Say that question again, Gary.
They come to you and they're a real estate agent and they're really trying to make it. And they said, I need to focus on one thing right now. What's the one thing that they should put their focus on? And obviously they're going to get to the other things as well. But like, let's start here. You get this going, then this works.
They need to be able to be seen and get found, right? So what does that mean? That means they shouldn't worry about a logo, but they should have a beautiful picture of themselves on all of their social media profiles. It should have a simple message that says, you know, Sam Smith, real estate agent, serving Chicago, Illinois. Here's my number. Here's my website. And whatever else they can fit relative, right? Serving specific suburbs, area, zip codes, something like that. That's number one. Is the majority of agents I see, they cannot be seen and get found.
Yeah.
That's number one. The second thing I would say is that all of their socials need to be 80% personal to build their brand and showcase and be transparent and be authentic, and 20% business related, right? That 20% can be a listing. That 20% can be a closing. That 20% can be going through a video walk with their phone on a brand new build that's not even their house, right? Like,
I would not heard that, Ray. I love that. I mean, why is that so important? I said to kind of humanize them. Right? I mean, is that what it's doing? Like, what's the value of doing that 80-20?
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
They need to be humanized, but they also need to figure out who they're going to work with, right? Like, people are going to work with you when they know, like, and trust you. So when people can see, oh, this guy likes golf. Oh, this girl's into dancing. Oh, they play pickleball, right? Or this guy likes race cars, right? Like, and oh, they're with their kids. Seems to be a good family person, right? Like, people, look, we're all being judged every single day, right? That's the reality of the situation.
Mhm.
And as social media has grown, it's just gotten worse in some ways. But on the flip side of that, so many people are scared to put out information, right? Well, oh, Big Brother's watching and, Facebook's doing this with our data. Well, guess what? They're doing it anyway. That's my opinion, right? Like it's all happening regardless of whether we want it or not. So what would happen if you just open up and become vulnerable and put yourself out there and welcome more conversations? Do you think you would have more conversations? I promise you will. And you're going to have more conversations with the right people that are actually interested in working with you, that may want to join that Facebook group that you started, that may want to join that book club that you're thinking about doing, right? And when you open the doors and you start welcoming people into your life, it's a game changer for your business. It really, really is. And that's why the 80-20 rule.
I love it. Austin, you're shaking your head. Yes, talk to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's nailing it. He's crushing it. It's funny because what he was talking about, I feel like he was subtly plugging like our company over here at Divity, but then it's funny because my answer was actually going to be about mentorship and finding the right mentors, which then I did realize I'm like, oh, I'm plugging Ray. Like it was funny how it worked. But I think that if I had a friend that came to me that was wanting, he's new to real estate, he or she's new to real estate, and they don't know what to do next. I think the first thing they need to do, they're not going to have money to invest in lead generation. They're not going to have, enough resources to do things that I think they need to go to a mentor first. I think they need to go to a coach first, whether that's going to, hire a real estate coach or whether that's joining a team or brokerage that has a ton of resources available to you. That is step one. You need to go find somebody that's willing to show you the way, that has done it themselves. I wouldn't want to plug and say, oh, do Google ads. That's the first thing you should do, because it's not. The first thing you need to do is find the right people to teach you how to do the things to hunt for your food. And then once you get the food, you take it and you start diversifying it and putting it so you could save it.
You better know how to cook it, right? Or it's just going to go bad on the table. Yeah, exactly.
Got to plant the seeds for the future. So, but first you need to learn how to hunt. And so I think you need a mentor to show you how to do so.
What do you think common misconceptions are about people who are either just getting in, or frankly, they've been in for a while, but misconceptions about the life and the work necessary and what's to come?
You want me to take that?
Run
sure,
with it. Run with the rock, Ray. Run it.
So two things. One, to complement what Austin just said, which will piggyback into this other thing we're talking about here, is that the cool thing about real estate is you can build whatever you want. The bad thing about real estate is you could build whatever you want. And it's not knowing what to build is the problem, right? So you can literally build whatever business model you want. You can only work with buyers. You can only work with sellers. It could be a hybrid. You can only work with investors. You could only do foreclosures or short sales. Like there's a ton of different options out there and available. So the first thing that I do with people is we start with the roadmap, and I start 3, 5, 10 years out and work backwards, but it starts with their personal family life. What is your situation, right? Like my wife and I have 5 kids and 3 dogs. We have a lot of heartbeats. We have a busy household, and there is a very dynamic when it comes to activity management. And I don't say time management because we can't manage time, but we can only manage activities. So moving that forward is, okay, let's start with what you're trying to build for yourself, right? So let's just say you are a nurse, you got into real estate part-time, and you're trying to replace your income so that you can get into real estate full-time. So let's just say that's 50 grand a year. Okay. So we can do the math based upon the average sales price of where your farm area is and figure out how many transactions you need to do to replace that income, and then go create a roadmap for you to replace that income. And if you're a new agent, maybe it takes 10 listing appointments to convert 1, right? And that happens for a few months until you get better and you get more comfortable. And then you can start converting 2, and then you have a 50% conversion rate. And then going back to Austin, circling back to the beginning, you can start doing the math and figuring out what that looks like for you and where you need to be. But that roadmap is very personal, right? And a lot of brokerages, a lot of teams are still very old school. Like you come in, just sit in the pit and listen to what everybody else is doing and then just follow what they're doing. Like that doesn't work anymore in the world that we live in. There's way too dynamic and there's too many options, and people want flexibility. And most people get into real estate for one of two reasons. One, they just think it's a get rich program, right? Like, oh, get in real estate, make money, we're going to crush it. Or they want flexibility, knowing that the money will come over time. And you can have both, but you need that plan. And that plan is done by a personal roadmap. Like you have to begin with the end in mind. Otherwise, you're literally just pushing upstream. And that's where people get frustrated, where give up. And that's why there's an 87% failure rate in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary,
Austin,
if you're going to
anything
ask me for my opinion on that, you ever been in a golf scramble and just watch your partner mash a drive and you're like, I'm not even going to hit the ball. I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to go ahead and head to the cart. Ray just crushed that one.
Okay. Well, I think, bringing it back to the topic of converting the leads, everybody's worried about how are we getting the leads, but they're not focusing on the conversion that's necessary. This is probably a good one for you, Austin. Like what's the number one question you get on, how do I turn these leads into something? Like, what do you hear?
Yeah. No, I think the biggest thing is like I said, you gotta put in something into a follow-up process. Chime has AI capability. I would be making sure that if I know I'm not going to be reaching out via text and email, I'm probably going to put every single one of my leads on that I have come in inbound on the AI and let the AI help qualify, respond to these leads for me. And while I'm still doing the outbound calls. So I don't need to be so focused on it, but that would probably be my big thing that I would probably coach is focusing on the things that can help you speed up and become more efficient with your time when it comes to converting the online leads. And a lot of those tools are within the Chime platform right there at your disposal. You're probably just not using some of them. So the first one I would be looking at is that AI.
Right on. Well, I want to leave time for questions here. But before we do that, how can our lovely audience get a hold of you? Should they, in regards to what Austin is offering in regards to marketing and lead generation and content building and that kind of thing? How can they get a hold of you, Austin? And then we'll go over to you, Ray, to promote what you got going on to help the people. So Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's multiple ways you can reach out to us. We're pretty active on Instagram at Dippity Marketing. Mine personally is Austin St. Jean. We put a lot of content out on YouTube. But ultimately, I think if the best way you want to connect with us, you could go to dippity.com. It is DIPPIDI.com. It is not Dippin' Dots. So,
and it's in the chat, guys. It's in the chat.
Yep. It is in the chat. So you can look there, just click there. It goes over a lot of our services and our different packages we offer. Anything from lead generation, lead conversion to content marketing with blogging, promoting your listings. There's so many services that we offer. But I would encourage you to jump on a call with us just so we can learn a little bit about your situation, what you currently have going on, and seeing where we can come in as an auxiliary to help out a little bit further. So dippity.com is the plug for the day.
Nice. And Ray, I know you have a million things going on, but how can they find out more about you and follow you?
Yeah, guys, I can drop my link right here. I'll drop it in right now to everybody. Go there. And when you grab that link, I'll ask you to just sign up. That'll give you a 7-step guide on how to be a better agent initially. And then from there, you can just be directed to my website, take a peek at it. You can book a call with me. I do 45-minute strategy sessions. I have 2 different coaching packages. One is a group coaching package, and the other is a one-to-one coaching package. So we can book a call. We can talk about your business, what's going on, see if it's a good fit for both of us, and go from there. I'd love to help you guys build your business.
I love it. And your podcasts are amazing. Lots of value, you guys. And if you're in the Chicago area, don't you have something specific to that? Because I know we had some Illinois people representing in the chat.
Yep, I have one podcast called the Agent Podcast, which you can grab from my website. Another podcast called the Chicago Podcast you can grab from my website. And if you're a Kindle Unlimited user, you can read my book, The Startup Agent, for free.
Get it. Come on, guys. Thank you guys so much. Let's get to some questions here. Going down. Let's see here. Can Chime be utilized for business generation for senior living? We are real estate specific platform right now, but keep your eyes peeled. We've got some really cool things that we're working on, but right now I have to tell you that we are real estate specific. There is not a demo in this conversation. We just wanted to get some wisdom imparted upon us. But if you are interested in a full-blown demo of Chime, I would be glad to help you. You can go to chime.me, that's M-E, chime.me, or you can email me at gary.parker@chimeinc.com, and I'd be glad to set up a demo with you as well there. Let's see here. How are the leads from Chime, both buyer and seller? Well, on the website, they have the ability to find out what the value of their property is through our evaluation tool. So if they enter that in there, we would know that they're a potential seller, and they would come in as a seller. And if they're looking for properties, they would be a buyer. Or if you gather the information upon getting that lead, you would be able to put a tag on either of those to make sure that the appropriate messaging is going out to those people. This webinar was recorded, so that will be available to all of you. Let's see here, questions for the guys here. Okay, here's one for you. And Austin, maybe kind of up your wheelhouse here. Best style of landing pages for PPC results, property grid only, question mark?
Yeah, I would recommend, if you're doing a home search campaign, people, looking for homes in the area, you're definitely going to want to use that multi-property property grid. That's going to be the best one to get the results. Make sure that what you're doing, though, is when you go set that up, you can create the campaigns that you have your registration form popping up. Many people have different opinions, but if you're going to be investing in your PPC and you're driving people to it, I would recommend having people register immediately, if not after viewing one property. And that way you can try to capture that lead pretty quickly and initially. But in the event they do leave, that's when you set up some multi-channel and have remarketing helping you out on the back end to bring them back and build trust. So I would say the property grid for multi-property is the way to go.
Right on. Thank you so much. And I noticed Courtney just posted, great book, got it a week ago, Ray. So you've got fans. I'll tell you what, you meet him in person, he'll autograph it.
100%.
That's awesome. Do we have any other questions? Anybody else? How about last words? Austin, we'll start with you and then we'll close with Ray. Any last words? Anything we need to know about business generation or what Diffity's doing or the future of real estate?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just remembering that marketing is definitely becoming a forefront, but do not put sales on the back burner, because ultimately you're going to want to have a 50-50 here of sales being in acquiring sales skills and a sales foundation and process to convert the leads that you're investing in. So if you're thinking about investing in any form of lead generation, make sure that you're putting in some sort of process to actually get these leads to turn into conversations. So that way you can turn them into appointments and then turn them into deals, which then turns them into referrals. I mean, it is literally squeezing the limit out of that as well. So find a way to get a sales process in place if you plan on investing in your marketing.
Love it. And Mr. Ray?
Decide to be an agent, commit to your business, think 3, 5, 10 years out, and go deep.
I love it. Well, guys, I am so thankful for you coming out today. We appreciate partnering with amazing intellects like yourself. I saw the question about the recording for today's Zoom. It will be on our YouTube channel. You can take a look at that. There is a link to that YouTube channel if you go down into the chat right now. And I'll tell you what, Ray mentioned as a point of reference that 87% of realtors fail. And the fact that, again, you guys are sitting here with us on a Thursday morning and you've taken time out of your busy schedules, because realtors are never stuck in one place for too long. It shows that you've made the investment in yourself. We couldn't be happier that you were here with us today. We wish you an amazing 2023, and hopefully with a little bit of information and a lot of elbow work, you guys will exceed your goals. And we thank you so much. For Chime, this is Gary signing out, and I want to thank Austin and Raymond, and go check out that podcast. Get over to Dippity if you guys need help with your marketing and some content, and we wish you a very happy Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all so much.